His name is Miller Moss. We got to come up with a nickname, something like Miller, the transfer quarterback killer.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Hulkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube or wherever you want to download your podcast, this show is free. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your support. Show your appreciation. If you're watching on YouTube, become a subscriber. Smash that thumbs up. Click that bell notification button. You don't miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use your code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Malachi Nelson, he was the first person to get mossed at USC. I think that's the safe assumption. He jumped into the transfer portal. Wanted no part of Miller Moss. Then Lincoln Riley, he made an offer to Will Howard. Miller made a better offer to Lincoln Riley, while at the same time, he encouraged Will Howard to take Ohio State's offer. Well, he did. So how ironic. Yeah, Will Howard, he is an Ohio State Buckeye. You haven't heard by now? He took the Buckeyes NIL offer and a much clearer shot at the starting quarterback role. So again, it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Everybody was saying that, hey, Miller shouldn't be afraid of competition if Lincoln wants to bring in Will Howard. Well, Lincoln Riley should bring in the best quarterback. Let Miller Moss compete. Whoever wins, they're QB1 in 2024. This is how I'm picturing Miller Moss right now. Kind of laying back in the hammock, got his adult beverage in one hand, maybe on the table, kind of polishing up that quarterback killer gun that he's got. I mean, who's next right now? Malachi wanted nothing to do with it. Caleb Williams is off to the NFL. Will Howard has elected to, I'm not going to go and try and compete with Miller Moss. I'm going to go to Ohio State. So who's next? Where does Lincoln Riley look to find a backup for Miller Moss and Jake Jensen? Well, let's take a look at some names that are out there, because I think the pool isn't as big as everybody would anticipate, and the dynamics of college football have changed things. The paradigm, it's shifted. Coming in, there's not too many Dante Moores out there who's willing to go somewhere and sit for a year and admit, you know what, I'm not ready for the college game. It'd be great if there was more like him out there. I actually respect them. I actually respect Dante for admitting that, for checking his ego. I think that's great. So let's take a look at some names. How about Caden Salters? He's probably not going to come to USC, but out of high school, he committed to Tennessee. He was a 4-star out of high school, Texas. That was back in 2021. He actually got to Tennessee. He took part in spring camp, and then he bolted. He jumped over to Liberty University. Yep, that Liberty. And he spent 2021 as a redshirt. He was injured part of the 2022 season, but that's when he started to kind of get his feet under him, feel comfortable as a Division I quarterback. And then in 2023, if you follow college football at all, he led Liberty to an undefeated season, 13-0, and then they landed in the Liberty Bowl. So this past season, he threw for 2,431 yards, 29 touchdowns. That was in the regular season. And he also put up 900 yards rushing with another 11 rushing touchdowns. So that's your big, athletic, elusive, mobile type of quarterback. His head coach over there at Liberty, Jamie Chadwell, said his arm is elite. So he's got all the tools that you would think Lincoln Riley wants. But is he going to be confident, enough to come to USC and challenge Miller for the quarterback one position? because I think at this point, we have to admit that Will Howard kind of curled up in the fetal position, chose the path of least resistance in Columbus, Ohio. I've been saying the 1 year ringers, look, those guys, they're not bench sitters. That's that's really what this case is with Will Howard. Um, they're going to go to a school again with the least amount of resistance for that starting spot. And you know what? If you get that benefit of a nice deposit into your savings account, so be it. No one is going to or even wants to pay a Will Howard or a Caden Salters, what is it, $500,000 or more? That's probably the going rate right now to come sit on the bench. I mean, even 5-star plus guys like Malachi Nelson, they don't want to wait around. He was a freshman. Oh, by the way, latest rumor: he's taken. Well, this isn't a rumor. He's visiting. He's visiting Boise State. Is that where he's going to end up? I can't imagine Makai Lemon would follow his good friend Malachi Nelson to Boise State. Just can't. I would say at a certain point those two are going to cut ties, right? They can maintain friendship. I don't think they're going to be playing with each other for the rest of their lives. So, despite Miller, missing out on the direct competition, no one's. I don't think anybody's really going to miss that potential locker room drama had Will Howard chosen to come to USC, because I've been talking about that throughout the week on these episodes of Locked on USC. My everyday viewers, they're like, yeah, you know what? You mentioned that before, Mark. So if you haven't heard that, go check out the other episodes. You'll understand I'm being very consistent on this issue. So again, with Will Howard, he's off the market, and I truly do think Caden Salters will end up somewhere else. USC still needs at least one quarterback who isn't afraid of Miller Moss, right? I mentioned, I think it was last week, we went over some potential quarterback candidates who are out there in the transfer portal. I mentioned the name Caden Veldkamp, redshirt freshman. Well, he'll be a redshirt sophomore from Western Kentucky. He's a big dude in the pocket, 6'6", 235 pounds. If you don't know his history, here's your Cliff Notes version. He entered the transfer portal, and he was allowed to stick around with Western Kentucky, participate in the bowl practices, and he actually got into the bowl game because when their starter got benched, Caden stepped in the game, threw for 383 yards and 5 touchdowns. He was 40 for 52 throwing the ball. When he came in the game, Western Kentucky was losing 28-0. And Old Dominion, he actually led their team back to beat Old Dominion 38-35 in overtime. So the dude's got the chops. He knows how to win under pressure. Here's the thing. Since then, he's decided, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to stay at Western Kentucky. So he took his name out of the transfer portal. I'm wondering, does Lincoln Riley know of, this is a young man from Corona. He played at Corona Centennial High School in the Inland Empire, Corona, California, for those of you who aren't aware of that. He went to the University of South Florida out of high school. Well, he's back in the transfer portal. I think he's thrown like maybe, 1 or 2 passes. He might be the perfect candidate to come back home, learn from Lincoln Riley. What about UNLV's Jaden Mayava? He actually picked the Running Rebels over Auburn and Louisville and Tennessee and Northwestern at a high school. So he can play the game. And if Northwestern's offering you've got some, you're pretty intelligent. I'd watch this one closely. I don't know anything, but again, he might be another good candidate to come in. Right now, USC has Miller Moss, Jake Jensen, and walk-on Roy Gage. I mean, that's going to make spring camp and any type of practices really, really challenging, unless Lincoln Riley can find a quarterback or two. I mean, just saying that alone, that just sounds weird, saying Lincoln Riley needs to find one or two quarterbacks. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And they have an application on the phone that is so easy to use, and they got a variety of ways for you to bet, like same game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab, and if you want to make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, go check it out. Visit fanduel.com/locked on and make your first bet an easy score. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. You know, on this show, you get a lot of in-depth analysis and hot takes, right? Just had one in the first segment. Well, let me give you the hottest take of the day. The best lineup in LA right now is the lineup of auto loans at Logix. They start off at the top with one of my favorites, the proven and the dependable new and used vehicle loans. You can count on these guys to give you low rates and save you big time bucks. Next up, they've got an exciting new rookie sensation in their electric vehicle loans team. They've got some super low rates and flexible payment terms. You do not want to miss out on that. Rounding out their lineup, they've got their auto refinancing loans and lease buyout loans. With these guys, you can lower your monthly payments and get on the road to owning your car faster. Look, I know it's a hot take, but seriously, no one can beat the lineup at Logix. Visit your local Logix branch right here in LA and the surrounding area and let one of their amazing team members help you. Or just apply online in minutes at logixbanking.com. That's LOGIX banking.com. So we're in the second segment. You're looking at the rundown, and it says USC suffered the worst case of cheating ever. Well, it doesn't say ever, but they really did. It was 18 years ago that Texas got away. University of Texas, the Longhorns. The worst case of cheating ever. Worst cheating scandal ever to rock college football. Happened 18 years ago this week. Yesterday, to be in fact. They cheated more than SMU with Eric Dickerson and Craig James. Heck, Texas cheated more than the SEC and all those Fulmer Cups combined. It was Texas and the referees who cheated USC out of 3 straight national championships and extending that 34-game winning streak. Should have been 35. In fact, it should have been 41. I'll get to that in a second. Texas cheated when Vince Young's knee was down. Yeah, they did. Any honorable person said, no, knee was down. We cheated. That play was over. They also cheated when they didn't tell the refs that Reggie's lateral at the beginning of the game, that was actually a forward pass. Yeah, that was not a turnover. USC was cheated out of destiny. Again, that's a 34-game winning streak on the line. Their 3rd straight national championship. USC was cheated out of destiny. In 2006, if you'll remember, they came out and won their first 6 games out of the chute. That means USC would have had a 41-game winning streak before the Oregon State Beavers ended it with that 33-31 victory up in Corvallis on the road. To this day, I have yet to rewatch that game after attending it live. USC was cheated so bad at the Rose Bowl versus Texas, I refuse to watch it over again. One, because I was there and I don't want to feel that pain ever again. I don't need to relive it watching it. I feel it right here. So imagine if that game was played today with the advance of technology and the replay booth, having a backup system that actually works. People in New York, California, somewhere, were going to take it over. I mean, it took so many shenanigans and so much poor officiating and some really weird ass stuff to happen in one game. And it still came down to a fourth down Vince Young scramble and Frosty Rucker losing contain. But none of that would have mattered if Texas wouldn't have cheated. Since that game, though, USC has not competed for a national title game. Not one. It's been a long time. They were cheated out of the 2008 game. They got cheated out when Team Tebow went on TV and cried, playing the victim card, saying, "I'll never do that again." If the playoffs were around, I'm going to put this hypothetical out there. Hit up the comment section. This is for you, viewers and listening audience. Let's say the playoffs were around starting in 2000. Nice round number, right? I'm not going to pick 2002. I'll say 2000. I could have started in 2002. How many championships would USC have played for? Again, had the playoffs 14 version been in place starting in 2000. In 2002, they were the number 4 team in the country. So they would have qualified, right? And they were relegated to basically saying, all right, give me Iowa. I'll take Brad Banks, the Heisman runner-up. USC handled them with ease. What was it, 38-7? Wasn't that the final score? I don't remember off the top of my head. All I remember was Iowa returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown, and that was it. That was game. Ball game, over, USC. They were throwing oranges to the fans. USC, again, they played the Heisman runner-up, kicked their butts. Yeah, Kirk Ferentz, defense. See you soon. And USC, by the way, they had the Heisman winner back then. His name was Carson Palmer. In the other game, Ohio State beat Miami in the BCS National Championship game. But if you remember, for those of you old enough, you were watching, remember what Kirk Herbstreit said at that time? Neither one of those teams, Miami or Ohio State, would have wanted a piece of USC. Not at the end of the year. Not the way USC was playing. No. It would have been a good game, don't get me wrong, but USC would have beaten Ohio State that year. And I'm saying Ohio State because they beat Miami. So if Miami, with that NFL roster, if you weren't good enough to beat Ohio State, you weren't going to be good enough to beat USC. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. So what about 2003 and 2004? That goes without saying. They're in the playoffs. No one was beating USC in those years. Remember, that only loss that USC had in 2003, triple overtime up there in Berkeley, California. Yeah. And I think USC beat themselves in that one. For all of you Norm Chow enthusiasts, why did he stop throwing the ball to Mike Williams? Yep. I went there. Anyways, I just explained how USC was cheated out of their 2005 opportunity. It took Oregon State again in 2006 and 13-9 a few weeks later. That would have kept USC out of the playoffs. Maybe. Does a 10-2 USC team in 2006 get in? Do they still get that benefit of the doubt like the Alabamas and the Georgias get today? Remember, no conference championship game. Forget 2007. That Stanford game would have been way too much for USC to overcome. 2008, forget about it. USC wins it all with that team. I know that Corvallis bit USC in the butt again, but that team destroys Oklahoma, Florida. I don't remember who the other team at the time was. USC would have just throttled them. That defense was amazing. And that offense wasn't too bad either. That 2011 team, that they were still on sanctions. So again, 10-2, probably not. Just throwing them in there. But since then, nothing close. let's add them up. You got 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005. Do you put 2006 USC in the playoffs? I say no. So you got 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2008, winner, chicken dinner. I'll be fair. I'll keep USC out of 2011. Again, that was another team that was accused of cheating, but wasn't a cheater. The NCAA cheated them, made up their own rules at the time. Anyways, so at a minimum, USC's in the playoffs and winning it 5 times from 2000 through 2023. I think that's fair, right? USC would have had 5 national championships had the playoffs been around back then. Look, losing is never easy, but it's even harder when the other team gets to cheat all game long. And that's what Texas did at this time last year. At this time, 23 years ago. Or was it 18 years ago? Excuse me. It still hurts. Trojan fans, stop stressing out trying to get tickets. Download the Game Time app. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun you're going to have. The football season is done, but Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. You want to go check out Bronny James, Boogie Ellis, Kobe Johnson, and the men's basketball team? What about Juju and the women's team? You can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for basketball, concerts, comedy. They got a whole bunch of stuff over there. And don't forget, SC men, they take on Stanford this Saturday afternoon. So if you want to see Bronny and Boogie, get your tickets if you don't already have them. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. And you're going to find tickets in the same section. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 100%, 110% of the difference. It's the fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. It's Friday. Time for the Friday Rant. And this Friday Rant needs your attention. This is a serious matter. If I've said it once, I've said it 101 times. Here it is again for the 276th time. No black uniform in football at USC. Full stop, period. /thread. Look, what makes any brand unique is being true to who you are. Don't try to be everything to everybody. It doesn't work. Have you ever tried to appease everybody? Yeah, you end up making yourself miserable. If you want to be more like Oregon and their brand, go for it. Go check them out. What makes USC's brand unique is its exclusivity. Never having the name on the back. Never playing a D school once you got rid of the leather helmets. It's been a long time since USC played, the U.S. Coast Guard Academy for Kids. They had they played the YMCA way back when at one time. So you understand my point. I have zero room for hypocrites on my USC bandwagon. You can't build yourself and USC up on the backs of their tradition and their history and use that as your foundation. And then turn around and not look while someone's, all of a sudden you're going to turn around and someone's like spraying graffiti all over the place and say, you know what? We're only doing that one. It only happens one time a year. No big deal. Tell you what, it is a big deal. Because once you give an inch, you might as well just walk away. Because that the same people who said, all right, we won, we got our black uniforms, they're going to keep coming back for more. They're going to keep pushing that envelope. They're going to keep spraying graffiti. And someone else will wash it off. Like I said, no. And I'll tell you what, if your argument is, well, if the recruits won't come to USC because, they don't want to capitulate to the whims of a teenager. Well, guess what? Then that particular USC football recruit, they're not fit to wear the gold plate on the helmet anyways. If that's one of the most important things to them, see ya. A lot of other teams out there. Maybe Oregon is a better place for you. A black or alternate uniform is for one reason only, and only one reason. Cha-ching. Money. It's an attempt to cash in on jersey sales. It's not going to sell more season tickets. You know what's going to sell more season tickets for USC this year coming up? Being a member of the big conference. I know it's the Big Ten conference, folks. The logo says big, so I'm running with it. That's going to generate more excitement. So, again, you might sell more tickets for one game, but who are you going to do that for? Utah State? You shouldn't need to do the green jersey gimmick to sell a game against, Notre Dame, against the Fighting Irish. You're going to go, what? You're going to go Dark Knight against UCLA? That would be lame as hell. I mean, there's nothing better than seeing USC in cardinal and gold and that other school wearing their baby blue, pastel blue, and yellow. When those two teams meet on the field, those colors, it looks right. It looks like college football, like what it was meant to be. So again, it's a marketing gimmick, nothing more. Just admit that. I mean, if you want to know why USC basketball team did it, they did it to generate interest in the program. Didn't work. I mean, yeah, you might sell tickets to that game, but it didn't do anything for any sustained success. If you're a black uniform proponent, are you saying that USC football needs to do that? Then you're probably also saying that USC football no longer has their brand. You can't have it both ways. So, at least this is where I come from. Can we please keep a little bit of what makes college football traditional? Can we leave that alone? But college football already has the free agent transfer markup, right? Transfer portal, free agency, players jumping, going where they want. I'm fine with that to an extent. Mostly, I'm fine with that. They've got NIL. They can make as much money as they can generate off of their name, image, and likeness. I'm pretty much okay with that. I'd like to see a little bit of rules put in place. I'm a big proponent of the super conferences. There's going to be more. You've got the big conference. You've got the super SEC now. So, again, because the sales of black jerseys, they're not going to help with recruiting. It's not going to help fill the NIL coffers at USC. Character, culture, honoring tradition, all the things that makes USC who she is. You disrespect all of that when you want to play dress up for a day, when you want to be like Oregon. So no, full stop. No black uniforms in football at USC. Just stop. No. USC's colors are cardinal and gold. Let's respect USC's tradition. I think it's necessary. All right. That's it for this episode of Locked on USC. full week in the book. I'll be back again next week with another 5 episodes. I might even be back this weekend with a post-game reaction. I mentioned USC takes on Stanford, 1 o'clock, Galen Center. Stanford's coming off victories against Arizona and UCLA back-to-back. Big test for USC this Saturday afternoon. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.